Hi, welcome to Recap Raccoon. In today's recap, we'll be looking at 2007's romance and drama film The Atonement. Watch out for the spoilers ahead. In 1935 England, 13-year-old Branny Tallis, the youngest daughter of the wealthy Tallis family, is set to perform a play she wrote for an upcoming family gathering. She spies on her older sister, Cecilia, and her housekeeper's son, Robbie Turner, from her bedroom's window. During Cecilia and Robbie's argument near the fountain, Robbie accidentally breaks a vase and yells at Cecilia to stay where she is, so as to avoid cutting her feet on the broken pieces on the ground. Still angered, Cecilia then strips off her outer clothing, stares at him, and climbs into the fountain to retrieve one of the pieces. Branny observes all of this from her window and misinterprets the relationship between Cecilia and Robbie. Robbie drafts a note to Cecilia to apologize for the incident. In one draft of the note, he pens his true, unfiltered feeling of attraction for Cecilia in a very explicit language. Although he never intends for Cecilia or anyone else to see this version of the note, he mistakenly places it in an envelope which he asks Branny to deliver to Cecilia. Only after Branny departs does he realize that the wrong version of the note is in the envelope destined for Cecilia's hands. Making the matters worse, Branny reads the letter before giving it to Cecilia. Later, she describes the note to her 15-year-old visiting cousin, Lola, who calls Robbie a sex maniac. Paul Marshall, a visiting friend of Branny's older brother, introduces himself to the visiting cousins and appears to be attracted to Lola. Before dinner, Robbie and Cecilia are alone in the library, at which time he apologizes to Cecilia for obscene letter, but to his surprise, she confesses her secret love for him. They proceed to make passionate love against the wall in the library as Branny walks in and sees them together against the wall. Branny mistakenly thinks her sister is being raped. During dinner, Lola's twin brothers go missing and the household organizes into a search parties. While participating in the search, Branny comes across Lola being raped by a man who flees upon being discovered. The two girls talk and Branny becomes convinced that it was Robbie. A confused Lola does not dissent. The girls return home. Later, Robbie, who finds the twins unharmed, returns to the house to see everyone waiting for him suspiciously. He ushers the twins inside and is promptly arrested despite Cecilia's pleas of his innocence. Lola and Branny's testimony, along with her turning over the explicit letter, convinces everyone but Cecilia of his guilt. 4 years later, during the Second World War, Robbie is released from prison on the condition that he joins the army and fights the Battle of France. Separated from his unit, he makes his way on foot to Dunkirk. He thinks back to 6 months earlier when he met Cecilia, who is now a nurse. Branny, now 18, joins Cecilia's old nursing unit at St. Thomas Hospital in London rather than going to University of Cambridge. She writes to her sister, but Cecilia cannot forgive her for her part in Robbie's arrest and conviction years later. Robbie, who is gravely ill from an infected wound and hallucinating, finally arrives at the beaches of Dunkirk, where he awaits evacuation. Later, Branny, who regrets implicating Robbie, learns from a newsreel that Paul Marshall, who now owns a factory supplying rations to the British Army, is about to marry Lola. Branny attends the wedding and she realizes that it was Paul who assaulted Lola during the search for the twins years ago. Branny visits Cecilia to apologize directly and suggests correcting her testimony, to which Cecilia says that she would be an unreliable witness. Branny is surprised to find Robbie there living with her sister, while in London on leave. Branny apologizes for her deceit, but Robbie is enraged that she still has not accepted responsibility for her actions. Cecilia calms him down, and then Robbie instructs Branny how to correct the record and get Robbie's conviction overturned. Branny agrees. Cecilia adds that Branny include what she remembers of Danny Hardman, but Branny points out that Paul Marshall was the rapist, and Cecilia adds that he has just married Lola and now Lola will not be able to testify against her husband. Decades later, when Brienne is an elderly and successful novelist, she gives an interview about her latest and last book, an autobiographical novel titled Atonement. She explains she is dying from a vascular dementia. During the interview, the audience learns that the portion of the book where Robbie and Cecilia are living together and Brienne attempts to apologize to them is completely fictitious. The sad reality is that she can never atone for her mistake, because Cecilia and Robbie were never reunited. Robbie died of spedicemia at Dunkirk on the morning of the day of his evacuation. Cecilia died months later in Balham tube station bombing during the Blitz. Brienne admits that she hopes to give the two, in fiction and in death, the happiness they never had because she was responsible for the awful mistaken identification regarding Lola's rape. The last scene shows an imagined, happily reunited Cecilia and Robbie staying in the house by the sea, which they had intended to visit once they were reunited. That's it for today's recap. If you guys enjoyed the video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next recap. Till then, take care and peace.